Hello. So, what I want to go over is the presentations that we have coming up. We've spent the last couple weeks, the first part of the semester, just really focusing on understanding a lot of the basics in communication, talking a lot about the basic stuff in communication. But what we're going to do now is switch to presentations, and that is going to be the main focus of the rest of the semester. So what I want to do is go over when it comes to your informative and your persuasive speech, what I'm looking for. And the first speech is going to be the informative speech. And obviously, if you look at your schedule, I am looking at the schedule right now. And yep, and then we have we have the presentations coming up. So all of next week is really presentations that we're going to be looking at. All right. So in your edition of the textbook, chapters 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17, those are the chapters that specifically deal with presentations. So please take some time and kind of look through those chapters. What I'm going to try to do is to try to summarize a lot of the material inside of those chapters, specifically in terms of what you need to do for the presentation, right? Specifically what you need to cover for the presentation. So that's what I'm going to do. So let me go back. I am looking at the syllabus and I am on page 6. And on page 6 of the syllabus, it gives you some information in terms of the presentation. So for your informative speech, all right, you are required to deliver a 4 to 7 minute presentation. For the informative speech, you are required to deliver a 4 to 7 minute presentation. The same thing for the persuasive speech, by the way, a 4 to 7 minute presentation. So you can select whatever topic you want to select for the presentation. So that's completely up to you. Whatever topic you want to select, that's fine with me. The only topics that I don't want you to do would be drinking and driving, texting and driving, and how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? Those three, leave those out. I have heard about texting and driving and drinking and driving so much. Don't want to hear that again. And obviously, I don't want to hear about how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So, other than that, there are a billion and one topics that you can choose from. So, for example, a lot of people will do topics that they obviously have some kind of relationship with. For example, I've seen a lot of people do topics along the lines of maybe they have a family member who struggled with or currently is struggling with cancer or something like that. And so they do an informative speech on, what is cancer, what causes cancer, obviously the specific type of cancer that they may have dealt with or their family member dealt with or is dealing with. So feel free to pick your topic. Be careful that your topic is not too broad. So I wouldn't suggest you do a presentation on just cancer because there's so many different types of cancer and it's such a broad topic. I would suggest that you do a presentation on a specific type of cancer because then you can focus on a couple points over the period of 7 minutes that will make your presentation much more effective than you try to just talk about cancer in general, right? So just think of any topic and then ask yourself, is your topic too broad? So the first thing you've got to do is to narrow down your topic. Now you don't have to run the topic by me or anything like that. If you so choose, that's fine, but you don't have to run your topic by me. Just ask yourself, is my topic too broad? right? And so work with that example. For example, a presentation on cancer is too broad, right? A presentation on breast cancer, a presentation on brain cancer, those are more specific, right? And it does not have to be cancer. Let me just clear that up. Your presentation doesn't have to be about cancer, or it doesn't have to be about some type of disease. You can talk about people. So you could do a presentation on a person, a place, maybe a place you visited or read about, a place that's always fascinated you, that you're interested in. You could do a presentation on, yes, a particular type of disease or something. You could do a presentation on anything really, some type of phenomena, right? Some type of phenomenon that you are interested in. The wonders of the world, the seven wonders of the world. Maybe you can pick one of them and you can do a presentation on that. So there are a whole host of things that you could do a presentation on. And a how-to speech is also going to be considered a informative speech, right? So a how-to speech is also going to be considered an informative speech. So keep that in mind as well. So you've got a lot of room and latitude to play with. All right. Now in your textbook, there are, and I'll try to get it here while I'm talking. In your textbook, Real Communication, right? In your textbook, Real Communication, there will be examples of what the outline is supposed to look like. And I am also going to send you an example, maybe one, maybe two, of what the write-up of a speech is supposed to look like. It's not written in an essay format. Please keep that in mind. When I ask you to write your speech, it is not written in an essay format, right? So in chapter 13, it talks about preparing and researching for a presentation. And this is why I was encouraging you to complete the informational literacy certificate, because when you complete that certificate, it shows you how to conduct proper research. And I'm going to talk about research in a little while. But chapter 13 of your textbook takes you through how to conduct research, and it will provide you with an example of what the outline actually looks like as well. So it talks about the types of sources that you can use, right? And what are considered compelling sources. And I'm going to give you an example here in a little while also. So please go through chapter 13, right? In chapter 16 specifically, you'll see an example of an outline of exactly how to write up your speech. So in chapter 16, and this is for the informative speech. So chapter 16 is about how to write an informative speech, specifically focuses on that. And you will see an example of what the outline looks like inside of that speech. It is on page, let me get it here. It's on page 427. So starting on page 427 to 429, you'll see an example of what the outline looks like, right? And the references, but you're going to be doing it in MLA format. In APA format, it's called references, your reference page where all your sources go. But in APA, it's references. So the textbook uses the term references on page 426. Yours is actually going to be works cited. So work with an S at the end, cited, right? And you can bold it, works cited, right? Do not put references, do not put sources on that specific works cited page. And I'll send you an example too, but there's one in the book that you can look at, right? So page 427, chapter 16 inside of the textbook gives you an example of the informative speech. And obviously, if you go to chapter 17, when we get to the persuasive speech, you'll see an example of what the outline looks like. They are very much the same, not really much difference. All right, so let me go over some things for you in your speech. So you've selected your topic. You've decided what you want to do for your speech, right? So one of the first things you'll see inside of your textbook is general purpose. I'm on page 427. General purpose. And then your general purpose, you'll see to inform. That's the only two words that go there, to inform, right? Your specific purpose now is to inform your audience about what you're talking about, your topic. Try to be specific, right? Try to be very specific about the topic that you're discussing. So if you say to inform my audience about breast cancer, I'm going to respond to you and say that is not specific enough. I'm going to ask you, what about breast cancer are you talking about? And that concludes your specific purpose. So to inform my audience about breast cancer, and you continue that statement, right? What are you going to tell us about breast cancer? That will be your specific purpose. So if you just said to inform my audience about Tesla cars, not going to cut it. I'll take points off for that. That is not specific enough. I'm going to ask you, what are you going to inform us about as far as it comes to Tesla cars or whatever your topic is, right? These are just suggestions I'm throwing out there. All right, so, and then you'll see it takes you through to your thesis statement, which is one sentence that summarizes the main idea of your speech. Please, please, please look at the textbook. Look at how things are worded, how things are phrased. And all you have to do is to change the words to match your topic, right? Don't make it more difficult than it has to be. Look at the way things are phrased, look at the way how things are written, and just change it to fit your topic. Now, you cannot do the topic that's inside of the textbook. That's an absolute no-no, just to point that out, right? Okay, so after that, you'll see your introduction, and your introduction has several parts, right? Follow the textbook. Now, there's there in the example I will send you, you might see a slight deviation in the intro, and that's fine, right? But feel free to follow what is inside of the textbook. But you'll see the attention getter. That's basically how you get your audience's attention. And you'll see that lined out, some examples again inside of the book. Then you'll have your thesis. Again, you always repeat your thesis under your intro. And then you'll have your preview, your main points, and then you'll go into your speech. The other thing you can have in your intro as well, and in the example that I'm going to send you, you'll see it, is a credibility statement. So you'll see a credibility statement in the intro that I send you. So pay attention to that as well. Your credibility statement will be, for example, for the purposes of the presentation, I conducted, I don't know, vast research, right? And I read several books or articles, visited several websites, that sort of stuff. That's your credibility statement. Now, everything I'm outlining, you will say when you do your presentation. But when you give your presentation, you don't have to say, this is my specific purpose. Just say what your specific purpose is. You don't have to say, this is my thesis statement. Just say the thesis statement, right? So you'll say your name, this is my topic, and then you say the specific purpose. You don't have to use the words specific purpose. Just say what the specific purpose is. Just say what the thesis is, right? Same thing for your intro. You don't have to say, now I'm going into my intro. That's very elementary. Just say your intro. Don't use the word intro, right? Just to kind of clarify that. So after your intro, your introduction, and again, follow the text, you will have, and I'll send you an example, you will have the body of the speech. In the body of the speech, right, you have, I'm requiring that you have 3 main points. So your speech must have 3 main points. And your main points are in the body of your speech. In the body of your speech. So, for example, let me use the example of breast cancer, right? So main point 1, right? Main point 1 might be that you just define what breast cancer is, right? Main point 1 might be the definition of breast cancer. So in main point 1, you'll say what breast cancer is, and you use the subpoints below your main point to answer the question, which is your main point, right? So if your main point is you discussing what is breast cancer, your subpoints right below will then say what breast cancer is. That is where your research begins to come in, right? If you didn't use your research as part of your introduction or anything like that, then that is where your research begins to come in, right? Your second main point might be, okay, you've defined what breast cancer is. Your second main point can now be, uh, how does someone develop breast cancer? What might be the causes of breast cancer, right? So you might deal with the causes as main point two. And then main point three, you might deal with possible treatments for someone who's struggling with or suffering from breast cancer. So that's those will be your three main points. Now, in between every main point, and you'll see it in the example in the text as well, and in the example that I send you, in between every main point, you will see the word transition. Now, when you write out your speech, right, I'm also looking to see that word. Remember, you are not writing an essay. So when I say you're writing your speech, you are not writing an essay. You are writing an outline. That's why I'm encouraging you to look at the textbook, look at the example that I will give to you, and then follow that pattern. You're not writing an essay like an English essay. If you write an English essay, that is not going to be an outline, and so you'll lose significant points for that. You are not writing an essay, right? It's an outline. Please keep that in mind. No huge paragraphs and all that type of stuff. Okay, so your transition, which is between each main point, and hopefully you're looking as I'm speaking, your transition in between each main point, your transition helps as a segue from one thing to the next. So for example, and you'll also say it when you're delivering your speech as well. So in your speech, you're delivering your speech, you can say, now that we have discussed, and now that I have defined what is breast cancer, I will now discuss the causes of breast cancer. What can cause breast cancer, right? That phrasing right there, that is your thesis. You'll write that in your outline and you'll say that verbally when you deliver your speech. I'll also make the grading rubric available to you as well so that you'll be able to see what is in the speech. As a matter of fact, it's on Blackboard. I just need to make it visible to you. All right, so you'll have a transition in between each main point, and you'll have a transition right before your conclusion. And as I said, if you're looking at the text, it will help you. Right, in your conclusion now, you repeat your thesis, you repeat your main points, the exact same thesis, the exact same main points, and then you have some kind of closing statement that you would make. Don't ever say, that's it. Okay, I'm done. You're not going to get prop points for that, right? So make sure, no props for that, no points for that. Make sure you find a nice way to close your speech. I'm also going to try to, well, not try, I will send you examples as well of some past speeches also for you to look at. All right. So let me talk about some other things that must be involved. For your presentation, you are required to use 5 academic or scholarly sources to help you explain the topic that you have chosen, right? So if you are defining breast cancer, you have to provide where you're getting this information from. So for example, in your speech, you might say something like, the Centers for Disease and Control reports or defines breast cancer as being so, and so, right? The American Cancer Association or Society defines cancer as being XYZ. Research or a study done by Dr. So and Dr. So at Johns Hopkins University or Harvard University, they write in an article titled The Dangers of Breast Cancer, right? And in that article, they define breast cancer as so and so. So you get the idea, and I'm listening for you. Not only is that written in your outline, and again, when you see the example, you'll see how you can incorporate it into your outline, but not only is it written in your outline, but I'm also listening for you to be able to cite your sources when you speak. So verbally, I have to cite them. So even though I have because you have to send me a copy of your outline. And so even though I have a copy of your outline, your speech in front of me, and so when I say you're writing your outline, it's an outline that you're doing. When I say you're writing your speech, it's an outline that you're doing, right? And so you're going to send me the final copy of that when you're happy with it, when you say you're done with it. And so even though I have it in front of me and I'm seeing your sources, you still are required to cite it when you speak. One of the reasons why I'm requiring you do that is you might be giving a presentation somewhere and there are people inside of your audience who cannot see, and so they can't see. So if anything is being distributed, they can't read it, they can't see. And so you then are going to have to verbalize your information in your presentation so that your audience is able to understand, right? So keep that in mind. You must have 5 sources. Now, what kind of sources can you use? The database, which is why I wanted you to complete the information literacy certificate. So for those of you who have not done it, now might be a really good time for you to complete it, because it will help you when it comes to doing research. I'm okay with you using books, whether it's a textbook or a textbook for a different class. Anything like that is fine. Be careful with websites, though, in terms of stuff like yahooanswers.com is an absolute no. Wikipedia is an absolute no. I mean, you can use Wikipedia to help you get a sense of a topic or something like that, but you will not be able to cite Wikipedia in your speech and on your works cited page. Keep that in mind, right? Be careful of the blogs that you choose, the different blogs. If that blog is not written by someone who's an expert in the field, then you cannot cite that blog. You have to know the credibility of the person that's just putting the information out there. Be really careful to just cite YouTube videos. Is that YouTube video being done by someone who is an actual doctor or a teacher or someone who's an expert in the field? That's fine. If not, you're not going to be able to cite it. You can get a lot of your sources. Yes, government websites are fine. So the cdc.gov, any .gov, I'm okay with those websites as well. But be careful with .coms, because .com is a profit thing, and so it's very biased, and so you got to be careful with that. No, obviously, if you're doing a speech on Toyota cars, then yes, you can cite from toyota.com. That's just kind of right. So I hope that helps to help that make a little bit more sense to you, right? If you're looking at a Toyota product, then toyota.com is fine. Tesla's website would be fine, right? In those instances, yes, you can go to the website and gather information. I will allow that. But you can find a lot of your sources by going to the school's database. So if you look in the database and you look at the different databases that we have, the different search engines that we have, you would be able to use that as well. And then once you've completed, as I said, the information literacy certificate, that would help you when it comes to doing your research. So just some heads up on that. So 5 sources, right? Could be a combination. No, it doesn't have to be all books or all information from an academic journal article that you will find in the database. And it could be a combination of all those things, all right, that you can use for your speech. All right, so you've got 4 to 7 minutes. You need 3 main points. Use your transitions. Please look at the example in the textbook for the informative and the persuasive speech. And remember, if you're looking for an example for the informative speech, you look in the informative speech chapter. If you're looking for an example for the persuasive speech, you look in the persuasive speech chapter, right? Pretty straightforward. And you'll see examples in there. But I will also send out examples from former students for you to be able to look at, to kind of help give you some context of what I'm expecting you to do. The deadlines, not necessarily deadlines, but the deadlines. The due dates is what I'm really trying to say. The due dates are on the syllabus, and I am looking at them right now. So your informative speech is on November 9th. and your persuasive speech is on November 30th. Right? So look at your schedule, and if we've got to move any dates or anything like that, I will let you know. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to go over those points with you. Obviously, I am as usual available by email, so please feel free to email me. And I will email you in terms of how we're going to complete the presentations, and I'll make the grading rubric available to you as well, that you'll be able to see how you are being graded. So, let's get going. Let me know if you've got any questions. And until then, all right, be good.